So hi everyone, Lauralie here again from witchchat.com for another night of mythology and folklore from Ireland. So welcome. I will tell you a bit about the background of the story and a bit about the characters and the origin of the tale and so on, and then we will have a little break and then I'll tell you the story. Okay, so tonight I will be talking to you about and discussing Tirna. And after the break I will read you the tale of Oisin and Tirna. Tirna is a magical country said to be an island off the west coast of Ireland. And Tirna is Irish for the land of eternal youth. Nobody ages there, and you could be there for 3 years, 300 years, and it'll feel like 3 years, basically. And it is known as the other world, where the she live. She being Irish for fairies, in my understanding, and the source I had anyway. And it's not an afterlife, but rather a haven or a paradise for mythological and supernatural beings. It is a very beautiful place where flowers bloom all year round. The Tuatha Dé Danann are said to live in Tirna. These are a race of people who were the people of Danu, a goddess. They were a great and powerful tribe in Irish historical lore. And they brought with them their Stone of Destiny, which they placed in Tara. They also brought with them the Spear of Luke. The Spear of Luke actually appeared in last week's story, if you remember, Tom Cooley, where Cuchulainn battled with Ferdia. He used it as a last resort, if any of you remember. In lore it says the Tuatha Dé Danann are said to have arrived in Ireland on flying ships, which they burnt on arrival to ensure that they stayed in Ireland. And they battled with the Four Bollock, the rulers of Ireland at that time, and won, but left them staying in Connacht while they had the rest of Ireland to rule. It was this battle that the Stone of Destiny and the Spear of Luke were placed in Tara, along with the cauldron of Dagda, which provided an ever-replenishing supply of food for the Tuatha Dé Danann. I came across a lovely poem about their arrival, and I'll read it for you now. It is God who suffered them, though he restrained them. They landed with horror, with lofty deeds. In their cloud of mighty combat and of spectres, upon a mountain of Connacht, without distinction to discerning Ireland, without ships, a rootless course. The truth was not known beneath the sky of stars, whether they were of heaven or of earth. And after their battle with the Milesians, which unlike their battle with the Fomorians they lost, they became known as the fairy people of Ireland, consigned to the other world of Tirna. They became like gods, and they became like gods to the Irish people. In many tales you will actually hear, will actually contain characters that were personified from the Tuatha Dé Danann, such as Queen Maeve from last week's tale actually. Okay, so the characters in tonight's story, Oisin and Tirna, are Oisin, a young mortal man who is the son of Finn MacCool, and he is one of few human men living in Tirna. His name means young deer or fawn, and he was thought to be the greatest poet in Ireland. Niamh Cinneor is a beautiful young woman, and she is a she, which is Irish fae, as I mentioned before. And she is the daughter of the King of Tirnanog, also known as Niamh of the golden hair. St. Patrick you'll all have heard of, I hope. He supposedly drove the snakes from Ireland, but symbolically it is thought that he actually drove the pagans out of Ireland. Obviously he didn't have much success. But in this tale he helps Oisin in his hour of need. Finn McCool, Oisin's father, he's a mythical hunter and a warrior in Ireland. He's husband of Sava, who is Oisin's mother. Sava's actually of the she as well. He's the main character of the Salmon of Knowledge, who is another story I will read you some other time. Oisin and Tirnanog. There was a king in Tirnanog, the land of the Ute, who held the throne and the crown for many a year, against all comers. And the law of the kingdom was that every 7th year the champions and the best men of the county should run for the office of king. Once in 7 years they all met at the front of the palace, and ran to the top of the hill 2 miles distant. On the top of that hill was a chair, and the man that sat there first in the chair was the king of Oisin for the next 7 years. After he had ruled for ages, the king became anxious. He was afraid that somebody might sit in the chair before him and take the crown off his head. So he called up his druid one day and asked, "How long shall I keep this chair to rule this land? And will any man sit in it before me and take the crown off my head?" "You will keep the chair and the crown forever," said the druid, "unless your own son-in-law takes them from you." The king had no sons but one daughter, the finest woman in Oisin, and the like of her could not be found in Erin or any other kingdom in the world. When the king heard the words of the druid, he said, "I'll have no son-in-law, for I'll put my daughter in a way in which no man would ever marry her." Then he took a rod of druidic spells, and calling his daughter up before him, he struck her with the rod, and put a pig's head on her in place of her own. Then he sent the daughter away to her own place in the castle, and turning to the druid and said, "There is no man that will marry her now." When the druid saw the face that was on the princess with the pig's head that the father gave her, he grew very sorry that he had given such information to the king, and some time after he went to see the princess. "Must I be in this way forever?" she asked the druid. "You must," said he, "till you marry one of the sons of Phil Maccool in Erin. If you marry one of the Finn's sons, you'll be freed from the blot that is on you now, and get back your own head and continence." When she heard this, she was impatient in her mind, and could never rest until she left Oisin and came to Erin. When she had inquired, she heard that Finn and the Fenians of Erin were at the same time living in Knockanaar, and she made her way to the place without delay, and lived there for a while. And when she saw Oisin, he pleased her, and when she found out he was the son of Finn Maccool, she was always making up to him and coming towards him. And it was unusual for the Fenians in those days to go hunting on the hills and mountains and in the woods of Erin, and when one of them went, he always took 5 or 6 men with him to bring home game. On a day, Oisin set out with his men and dogs to the woods, and he went so far and killed so much game that when it was brought together, the men were so tired and weak and hungry that they could not carry it. But he went away home and left him with the 3 dogs, Bran, Scolan and Buglin, who were the famous dogs of Finn Maccool, to shift for himself. Now, the daughter of Oisin, who was herself the Queen of Youth, followed in the hunt all day, and when the men left Oisin, she came up to him, and as he stood looking at the great pile of game, she said, "I am so very sorry to leave behind anything that I had the trouble of killing." And she looked up at him and said, "Tie up a bundle for me, and I will carry it to lighten your load off you." Oisin gave her a bundle of game to carry, and took the remainder himself. The evening was very warm, and the game heavy, and after they had gone some distance, Oisin said, "Let us rest a while." Both threw down their burdens, and put their backs against the great stone that was by the roadside. The music was heated and out of breath. The woman was heated and out of breath, and she opened her dress to cool herself. Despite her pig's head, Oisin could see that she was a very beautiful woman. "Oh then," said he, "it's a pity you have the pig's head in you, for I had never seen such an appearance on a woman in my life before." "Well," said she, "my father is the king of Oisin, and I was the finest woman in his kingdom and the most beautiful of all, till he put me under a druidic spell and gave me the pig's head that's on me now in place of my own. And the druid of Tir na Nog came to me afterwards and told me that if one of the sons of Finn MacCool would marry me, the pig's head would vanish, and I should get back my face in the same form as it was before my father struck me with the druid's wand. When I heard this, I never stopped till I came to Oisin, where I found your father and picked you out among the sons of Finn MacCool, and followed you to see if you would marry me and set me free. If that is the state you are in, and if marriage with you will set you free from the spell, I will not leave the pig's head in you long. So they got married without delay, not wanting to take home the game or lift it from the ground. That moment the pig's head was gone, and the king's daughter had the same face and beauty she had before her father struck her with the druidic wand. Now, said the Queen of Youth to Oisin, I cannot stay here long, and unless you come with me to Tir na Nog, we must part. Oh, said Oisin, wherever you go, I'll go, and wherever you turn, I'll follow. So she turned and Oisin went with her, not going back to Knock-on Ar to see his father or his son. That very day they set out for Tir na Nog, and never stopped until they came to her father's castle. And when they came, there was a welcome before them, for the king thought his daughter was lost. That same year there was a choice of a king, and when the appointed day came at the end of the 7th year, all the great men and the champions, and the king himself, met together at the front of the castle to run and see who would be first in the chair of the king on the hill. But before a man of them was halfway to the hill, Oisin was sitting above them in the chair before them. After that time no one stood up to run for the office against Oisin, and he spent many a happy year as king in Tir na Nog. At last he said to his wife, I wish I could see Oisin today, to see my father and his men. If you go, said his wife, and set full foot on the land of Oisin, you'll never come back here to me, and you'll become a blind old man. How long do you think you've been here? About 3 years, said Oisin. It has been 300 years, said she, since you came to this kingdom with me. If you must go to Oisin, I'll give you this white steed to carry you, and if you come down from the steed, or touch the soil of Oisin with your foot, the steed will come back that minute, and you will be where he left you, a poor old man. I'll come back, never fear, said Oisin. Have I not good reason to come back? But I must see my father and my son and my friends in Oisin once more. I must have even just one look at them. She prepared the steed for Oisin and said, the steed will carry you wherever you wish to go. Oisin never stopped until the steed touched the soil of Oisin, and he went on until he came to Knockpatrick in Munster, and where he saw a man herding cows. In the field where the cows were grazing there was a broad flat stone. Will you come here, said Oisin to the herdsman, and turn over the stone? Indeed then I will not, said the herdsman, for I could not lift it, nor 20 men more like me. Oisin rode up to the stone, and reaching down, catching with it his hand, and turned it over. Underneath the stone was the great horn of the Fenians, Boraboo, which was circled around like a seashell, and it was ruled that when any of the Fenians of Oisin blew the Boraboo, the others would assemble at once, from whatever part of the country they were from. Will you bring this horn to me? Asked Oisin of the herdsman. I will not, said the herdsman, for neither I nor many other like me could raise it from the ground. With that, Oisin moved near the horn, and reaching down, took it in his hand, but was so eager was he to blow it, that he forgot everything, and slipped in, reaching till 1 foot touched the earth. In an instant the steed was gone, and Oisin lay in the ground a blind old man. The herdsman went to St. Patrick, who lived nearby, and told him what had happened. St. Patrick sent a man and a horse for Oisin, and brought him to his own house. He gave him room by himself, and sent a boy to stay with him and serve and to take care of him. St. Patrick commanded his cook to send Oisin plenty of meat and drink, to give him bread and beef and butter every day. Now Oisin lived a while in this way. The cook sent him provisions each day, and St. Patrick himself asked him all kinds of questions about the old times in the Fenians of Erin. Oisin told him about his father, Finn MacCool, about himself, his son Oscar, Gol MacNorna, Conan Mall, Diarmid, and all the Fenian heroes, how they fought, feasted, and hunted, how they came under Druidic spells, and how they were freed from them. At the same time, St. Patrick was putting up great buildings, but what his men used to put up in the daytime was levelled at night. And St. Patrick lamented over his losses in the hearing of Oisin. Then Oisin said in the hearing of St. Patrick, "If I had my strength and my sight, I'd put a stop to the power that is levelling your work." "Do you think you'll be able to do that," said St. Patrick, "and let my building go on?" "I do indeed," said Oisin. So St. Patrick prayed to the Lord, and the sight and strength came back to Oisin. He went to the woods and got a great club, and stood at the building on guard. What should come in the night but a great beast in the form of a bull, which began to uproot and destroy the work. But if he did, Oisin faced him, and the battle began hot and heavy between the two. But in the course of the night, Oisin got the upper hand of the bull and left him dead before the building. Then he stretched on the ground himself and fell asleep. Now St. Patrick was waiting at home to know how the battle would come out, and thinking Oisin too long away, he sent a messenger to the building, and when the messenger came back, he saw the ground torn up, a hill in one place and a hollow in the next. The bull was dead, and Oisin sleeping after the desperate battle. He went back and told what he saw. "Oh," said St. Patrick, "it's better to knock the strength out of him again, for he'll kill us if he gets too vexed." St. Patrick took the strength out of him, and when Oisin woke, he was a blind old man once again, and the messenger went back and brought him home. Oisin lived on for a long time as before. The cook sent him food, the boy served him, and St. Patrick listened to the stories of the Fenians of Erin. St. Patrick had a neighbour, a Jew, a very rich man, but the greatest miser in the kingdom. He had the finest haggard of corn in Erin. Well, the Jew and St. Patrick got very intimate with one another, and so great became the friendship of the Jew for St. Patrick at last, that he said he'd give him, for the support of his house, as much corn as one man could thrash out of a haggard in a day. When St. Patrick went home after getting the promise of corn, he told in the hearing of Oisin what the Jew said. "Oh then," said Oisin, "if I had my sight and my strength, I'd thrash as much corn in a day as would do your whole house for 12 months and more." "Will you do that for me?" said St. Patrick. "I will," said Oisin. St. Patrick prayed again to the Lord, and the sight and strength came back to Oisin. He went to the woods next morning at daybreak. Oisin did, and pulled up 2 fine ash trees and made a flail of them. After eating his breakfast, he came and left the house, and never stopped till he faced the haggard of the Jew. Standing up before the stacks of wheat, he hit it a wallop and his flail and broke it asunder. He kept on it until this way, till he slashed the whole haggard to and fro. and went on Jew, running like mad up and down the high road in front of the haggard, tearing the hair from his head when he saw what was been done to his wheat, and the face was gone from him entirely. He was so in dread of Oisin. When the haggard was trashed clean, Oisin went to St. Patrick and told him to send his men for the wheat, for he had trashed out the whole haggard. When St. Patrick saw the countenance that was on Oisin, and heard what he had done, he was so greatly in dread of him, and knocked his strength right out of him again. And Oisin became an old blind man as before. St. Patrick's men went to the haggard, and there was so much wheat that they didn't bring the half of it with them, and they didn't want it. Oisin again lived for a while as before, and then he was so vexed because the cook didn't give him what he wanted. He told St. Patrick that he wasn't getting enough to eat. Then St. Patrick called up the cook himself, and before himself and Oisin, and asked her what she was giving Oisin to eat. She said, "I am giving him at every meal what bread is baked in the large griddle, and all the butter I make in one churn, and 1/4 of beef besides." "That ought to be enough for you," said St. Patrick. "Oh then," said Oisin, turning to the cook, "I have often seen the leg of a blackbird bigger than the 1/4 of the beef you gave me. I have often seen an ivy leaf bigger than the griddle on which you bake the bread for me, and I have often seen a single Roman berry, the mountain ashberry, bigger than that bit of butter you give me to eat." "You lie," said the cook. "You never did." Oisin said not a word in answer. Now there was a hound in the place that was going to have her first whelps, and Oisin said to the boy who was tending him, "Do you mind and get the first whelp she'll have and drown the others?" Next morning the boy found 3 whelps, and coming back to Oisin, he said, There are 3 whelps, and 'tis unknown which of them is the first." At St. Patrick's house they had slaughtered an ox the day before, and Oisin said, "Go now and bring the hide of an ox and hang it tip in this room." When the hide was hung, Oisin said, "Bring here the 3 whelps and throw them up against the hide." The boy threw up one of the whelps against the ox. "What did he do?" asked Oisin. "What did he do," said the boy, "but fall to the ground?" "Throw up another," said Oisin. The boy threw another. "What did he do?" asked Oisin. "What did he do but fall but the same as the first?" said the boy. The 3rd whelp was thrown, and he held fast to the hide, didn't fall. "What did he do?" said Oisin. "Oh, he kept his hold." "Take him down and give him to the mother. Bring forth in here. Feed the mother well, and leave the other 2. The boy did as he was commanded, and fed the other 2 well. And when the whelp grew up, the mother was banished. The whelp chained up and fed for a year and a day. And when the year and the day were spent, Oisin said, "We'll go hunting tomorrow, and we'll take the dog with us." They went the next day, the boy guiding Oisin, holding the dog by a chain. They went first to the place where Oisin had touched the earth and lost the magic seed from Tiernan Oak. The Baraboo of Fenians of Erin was lying on the ground there still. Oisin looked it up and went on to the Glen Nasul, which is Irish for Thrush's Glen. When on the edge of the glen, Oisin began to sound the Baraboo. Birds and beasts of every kind came hurrying forward. He blew the horn till the glen was full of them from end to end. "What do you see now?" asked he the boy. "The glen is full of living things," the boy answered. "What is the dog doing?" "He's looking ahead, and the hair is on end." "Do you see anything else?" "I see a great black bird, all black, settling down on the north side of the glen." "That's what I want," said Oisin. "What is the dog doing now?" "Oh, The eyes are coming out of his head, and there isn't a rib of hair on his body that isn't standing up. Let him go now, said Oisin. The boy let slip the chain, and the dog rushed towards again, killing everything before him. When all the others were dead, he turned to the great blackbird and killed that. When he faced Oisin and the boy, and came bounding towards him with venom and fierceness, Oisin drew out of his bosom a brass bell and said, "If you don't throw this into the dog's mouth, he'll destroy his boat. Knock the dog out with the ball, or he'll tear his pieces." "Oh," said the boy, "I'll never be able to throw the ball. I'm so in dread of the dog." "Come here at my back then," said Oisin, and straightened my hand in towards the dog. The boy directed the hand, and Oisin threw the ball into the dog's mouth. "What have we done?" asked Oisin. "Oh, the dog was knocked out," said the boy. We are all right then, said Oisin. "And do you lead me now to the blackbird or the cam? I don't care for the others." They went to the great bird, kindled a fire, and cooked all but one of his legs. Then Oisin ate as much as he wanted. I've had a good meal of my own hunting, and it's many a day since I have had one. Now let us go on farther. They went into the woods, and soon Oisin asked the boy, "Do you see anything wonderful?" "I see an ivy with the largest leaves I have ever set eyes on." "Take one leaf of the ivy," said Oisin. The boy took the leaf. Near the ivy they found a rowan berry, and then went home, taking the three things with them: the blackbird's leg, the ivy leg, and the rowan berry. When they reached the house, Oisin called for the cook, and St. Patrick made her come to the fort. When she came, Oisin pointed to the blackbird's leg and asked, "Which is larger, the leg or the quarter of beef you gave me?" "Oh, that is a great deal larger," said the cook. "You are right in that case," said St. Patrick to Oisin. Then Oisin grew out the ivy leaf and asked, "Which is larger, the griddle or on which you made the bread for me?" "This is larger than the griddle and the bread together," said the cook. "Right again," said St. Patrick. Oisin now took the rowan berry and asked, "Which is larger, this berry or the butter of the one churning which you gave me?" "Oh, this is bigger," said the cook, "than both the churn and the butter." "Right every time," said St. Patrick. Then Oisin raised an arm and swept the head off the cook with a stroke from the edge of his hand, saying, "You'll never give the lie to an honest man again." The end. So, that was Oisin and Tirnanog. So, thanks for listening, everyone, and good night.